Hey guys, and welcome back to IdleOn, and it has been a very long time once again here. I've still been playing IdleOn pretty actively, I just wasn't making any videos. I was just kind of like evaluating some stuff with the channel and everything, and then somehow, it's like a few days turns into like a few weeks. So we're going to get back at it here, because I was still preparing IdleOn, and I have some stuff to share. So this is like several weeks of stuff. This is probably going to go up to like maybe April 2nd, something like that, kind of about that time range, and then the rest of it I think I'll fit into a video in the next handful of days, hopefully. So yeah, I had a lot of stuff to do. A lot of things happened between the last IdleOn video posted and this one here. I was working pretty hard on construction-related stuff. At this particular moment, I was still trying to get my worship towers up in particular, because I needed to get the souls from World 3, and in order to do that, I really needed a higher wave in that world. So I was focusing pretty hard still on the build rate and getting those towers up, and then my idea was after those are done, I'll kind of shift it back towards the XP a little bit, try to get the XP more involved. Well, I'm going to try and get it more involved anyways. I'm still kind of evaluating what I want the construction strategy to be, but I ended up being pretty happy with how some things turned out there. So automation was happening here. I didn't set up the forge conveyor belt at this time. I did end up setting it up later. But the neural network, I think, is very good, because I'm just very happy to not have to constantly refill food all of the time. It was quite annoying. The conveyor belt is going to be very useful as well, but I have to... it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to be in there, as well as realize that 3D printing was probably the way to sort of keep it all supplied. So I got that set up eventually. I was working on the automation arm still, had pretty much decided at this point that I wanted to max automation arm, just because I wanted to see what the all the bonuses were. And basically the biggest problem did end up becoming the salt requirements, as well as some of the trapping requirements, because there are some things in here that require frogs, and still honestly kind of working on trying to get my trapping more efficient, as you'll see. But at this point in time, it was still pretty much all systems go. These requirements weren't too hefty, so I was happy to keep just going forward with all of this. And my objective at this point in time was to just try and keep getting the build rate up, the XP rate up, and try to keep more towers moving through, and try to get as many towers as I can to a more kind of reasonable place. So this video, as you can probably tell, is going to be very long, because it's like several weeks worth of stuff. So it's going to be about like 30 minutes plus long. That's not normally how my videos are, but this particular one, it's going to be a challenge. I haven't made a video in several weeks, and I'm like, boy, I have to talk for 30 minutes here. So let's do it. And as you can see, there was a lot of back and forth here with the towers. I was going through them, and then I went through and did kind of a big session here, several big sessions on trying to improve the cogs. I remember I'd showed them in one of the previous videos, and then there was a lot of feedback about that, because there's a lot of room for improvement on this. But what I will say is at this particular time point, I was still going for build rate, and as things kind of went along, I ended up trying to even it out more, because I realized I could still actually keep the build rate pretty darn high and still go for XP, basically. So then I ended up later on kind of switching it to more of an XP focus, and the build rate didn't really suffer that much. So, yeah, I was working in the lab here, trying out some different things. Again, this was, like a few weeks ago. You can see my level there was level 1 at the time. This was just me kind of seeing, like, what was going to work here, kind of testing out the distances and the bonuses. And obviously the refinery one is a big deal, I think. The alchemy bubble one seems nice, although probably not quite as key as the refinery. Just because a lot of the lowest level bubbles tend to not really have huge requirements, but just tend to be ones I neglected, if you know what I mean. So, got a lab ring there. New item. At this point, I decided to have my Barbarian kind of push through part of World 4 just so I could have access to some of these different materials for alchemy, as well as like rolling for vials and such. I wanted to be able to have some of the materials, so was working again here in this space on the cooking. And you can see I was leveling some different things up. I do end up getting to meal cooking speed eventually. I'm not sure why that took me a little while to get that sorted out. Anyways, I do get everything ranked up there eventually. So I put together the X-Kogias because that seemed like it was a useful thing to do. And as you'll see here, I spent quite a bit of time rearranging this whole structure here to try and get something a little bit more efficient, because really most of the build rate actually comes from, it seems, the characters themselves. So from that standpoint, it made the most sense to put the premium cogs, if I was going to use those, around the characters. Now the thing is, those premium cogs don't really seem to give a raw XP bonus, so there is kind of that to think about. The X-Kogias do, though. The X-Kogias do give that bonus construct XP, but those other silver ones don't, I think. So, however, regardless, I ended up kind of grouping, realizing the best thing to do if I was going to include them was to group them around the actual characters themselves, since that way I could sort of maximize the number of angles I was getting bonuses on to the things that were providing the most bonuses. Now, with this said, though, I still have characters that are in the cog shelf, building cogs, so from that perspective, it's not really, like, I could still have a higher build rate if I pulled those guys out of there. So, getting some gains here, especially in build rate, by reordering some things, trying to get my premium cogs more centralized around my characters here. Did get the XP up a bit, but not too much. Overall, though, just experimenting, which seemed to be the best way to kind of find the small gains. It's really my Squire, though, that was carrying the most in terms of build rate. So trying to build the bonuses, especially around the Squire, if I want to do that for build rate. And as you can see, got up from like 40,000 something to already upper 60s. 69k per hour. 70k. Some good gains here from experimenting more thoroughly with the positioning. What I found in the end was that having the X-Kogias more a little on the outside, still in the middle sort of, but then a grouping of characters in the middle mixed with the premium cogs seemed to give the best build rate that I could get. You can see there I got up to 74k. There were a lot of gains to be had just by shuffling some things around. 76k. And 77k. Just continuing to test everything I could think of. 78k. Now, the XP bonus is shuffling around, but what I found as I went along was that once I had this kind of set up a bit better, then I could basically swap out individual cogs for ones that were similar but with better XP, and that allowed me to kind of gain back a lot of the XP bonus, really raise that number without necessarily jeopardizing the build rate as much. So that just partly came from building better cogs, which is also something I was kind of focusing on, and keeping more cogs that do have XP bonuses in particular, especially over the ones that have low build rates. I'm trying to get more purple cogs into the picture. Still working on a lot of this stuff here. I got up a bit higher in the lab there, but I did not end up really keeping all these players in here. At this point, I was just looking at what some of those bonuses were. Some of the higher bonuses I had not really fully checked out yet, so that's kind of what I was doing here, just seeing how far I could get things to go. Again, this was like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, so it does feel a little weird talking about things that happened a while ago. But yeah, so the one at the end there, which I'm sure everyone's already seen, is the one that increases your liquid capacity, but reduces the rate by like 30%. However, I'm not really sure that's that good of one. Someone's probably going to tell me it is, though, but I'm curious to hear exactly what the application is. I feel like it must depend on how often you check, because I feel like if you check the liquids fairly frequently, just a bonus to capacity wouldn't be that useful. So stamps get double the bonus. That one could be pretty good. I'd have to look at my stamps specifically. I'll be honest, even now, I suddenly just sort of realized I haven't really run the stamp one that much. I'm curious, does anyone run the stamp one? I'm sure people do. But my main thing ended up being, like, initially I was using, like, all my characters in the lab, but then as things have gone on, I've kind of taken characters out of the lab, and that's kind of put some of those farther bonuses out of reach, basically. I mostly just end up doing the first 4 or 5 bonuses, and then kind of skipping the ones later on, or skipping some along the way. But I try to usually do the refinery one as well as the sort of multi-kill one. Or at least for now. 1.5x higher effects from jewels. Well, I don't really have enough jewels to probably make that useful just yet, so probably won't run that one. You can see there I got some of the bubble bonuses from that lab ability. And I bought some chips that I put in the console. My first impression of the console seems pretty powerful. Some of the bonuses are quite good. Like there's one chip that allows you to, I think it's like double the bonus of a card you have in a particular slot. There's another one that increases your drop rate by like 60%. There's some powerful ones in there, especially considering how many slots you have in the console once you get more lab levels. I could see that being really powerful. There's some chips that do like 10% damage each. It seems like you can just stack those in there, 10% accuracy, 10% defense, I think. So honestly, console seems like it could be really good, especially for more creative builds. So that was just me continuing to test out the lab. And still working on these towers here. I was really trying to up some of them for tower defense because I need to make a big push on that. However, some of the resources weren't quite where they needed to be. I ended up kind of overhauling my resources as well for salts and putting a lot of them. I mean, they were on the 3D printer. I assume that's where you put them. but that's where I had mine usually. I had the 3D printer taking care of salt resources, like salt requirements. But I keep having to try and reprint those simply because since World 4, there's been so many new bonuses that basically my 3D printer capabilities have constantly gone up, especially with characters getting a lot more damage. So let's see here in the arena what bonuses we can get to. And round 17, that's where we got to. So I got the 4th battle slot on that try, which was a good addition. I was doing cooking a lot exclusively at first, but then not quite so much. I sent more of my characters to the lab. This one here, cabbage, seems like a pretty good upgrade. What I noticed once I started actually upgrading that one was that it increased my kitchen speed by a lot. So I end up doing that one for some levels at one point. So yeah, I really need to get that cabbage level up. That's one of the ones I'm going to be focusing on in particular, as well as the meal speed. And then going to be focusing still a little more on arena, although it looks like the bonuses start to become a little more spread out. So maybe arena won't be quite as fast as it was initially. But I'm still having a go at it. You can see I'm trying the boomerang behind the defender. And then we have the slime and the carrot. Trying to do some DPS back there. Doing okay. This setup has been doing all right. I've been kind of farming some higher leveled pets, and obviously they can be even higher level than this, so I'm going to keep farming their levels up to try and get them better. So defeat in round 20. As you can see there, I was choosing to go with snakes at that time, or for the time being basically still, as my main source of getting spices. I'm not sure what other strat is really super viable where I'm at. So yeah, here we go. On my Barbarian, I figured I finally kind of got things set up a little bit differently here with no pain, no gain, and the ZOW situation sorted out. I think this is where a lot of my damage was missing from. Well, it's not fully up there yet, but I think a lot of it was missing because I didn't realize that with the ZOW, you have to actually have like 132 points in there. I, for some reason, was under the impression that you just needed to have the number of points as the number of monsters that you had the ZOs on, the ZOWs on. So that's all I had. I didn't have 132 points in there. I didn't realize there was additional bonuses to be had out of that. And once I did, it sent my damage way up. So I'm still working on it, but this was the point where, in combination with the World 4 bonuses, it started to get a lot higher very quickly. And I think to that extent, I may have at least a little bit fixed my Barbarian, because its damage was low, and I was trying to figure out what the problem was, but I think the addition of no pain, no gain, as well as the extra like 100 ZOW points I didn't have in there, because I didn't realize they did anything, I think that is going to end up making a pretty big difference. You can see already there, I'm up to almost 2.4 million damage, max damage on the Barbarian. And that's with shrines, but it will continue to go up, as you'll see. At the time, though, I was pretty shocked by that, because that was by far the highest damage bonus I'd had at that time. So up to 40 apocalypses caused at this point, 240% bonus. And you can see they're now at 2.7 million damage at the maximum. So it continues to go up, and the real addition to that was no pain, no gain. If I don't have that on, then it drops by like half or something. Or by a good chunk at least anyways. Getting this bonus cade going. This one netted me quite a few balls, or quite a few more than I thought I was going to get. I didn't have very many to start with, and all of a sudden, it was just raining balls. You know, raining arcade balls. And that was definitely a nice thing to see. I was like, what? Where did all of these balls come from? 361. And now I like it that it just automatically launches them for you. That's definitely a quality of life thing. Maybe it did that before and I didn't notice it, but I don't think it did. Or I just didn't know how to do it somehow. This is much better though. Lots and lots of points. That is beautiful to watch. And we had one more chance there, but I got a 4. So that did it for that. Now let's get in here, and I was up to well, I don't know. Maybe I went backwards. No, I don't know. Maybe this clip was out of order, but okay, no, never mind. 41 apocalypses caused. I couldn't remember if TVs were before or after the previous thing I had there. You can see up to 3.1 million max damage there. Again, my damage really going up much higher. I'd heard a lot of people had similar experiences after the release of World 4, but in particular for me, mine was under 100k. I'm under 1 million damage, and it has gone up quite significantly since then. So very pleased with that. It has definitely made bossing a lot easier, like a ton easier. I could actually farm cheese ore now, and what ended up happening was later on here, I went through on all of my characters, or like 8 out of the 9 of them, and I actually got them through the quest to get the daily cheese ore keys. So now I can get like 8 cheese ore keys per day, and the advantage of that is that now I can actually farm cheese ore efficiently, and eventually I end up getting to the point where I can also do chaotic cheese ore, mostly because of the damage increase from these the talent changes I did and from the World 4 bonuses. So it really ended up scaling my whole account here quite nicely. But for now, I was still doing some, only a little bit of World 4 farming, honestly. What happened with this character and my hunter was that they ended up, you can see here I was doing some splicing. Just want to get some gene spirals, but my bowman and my hunter ended up eventually going back to World 3 because I needed to get the, I have all these shrines at Rams in World 3, and I realized I needed to get them to World 4 so then I could put them in the town and then use the map bonus in the lab to eventually get all my characters set up farming with shrine bonuses in World 4. But I still had some that had like 17,000 hours already in World 3, so I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to finish these shrines. So I had 2 characters that have been back there for like a week just doing that. I think I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. I keep wanting to talk about what I'm currently doing, but this is like from a little while ago, so we're getting closer now though. We're getting a lot closer to present time. We've already covered a lot of ground. I was having another go at the Coliseum. I wanted to try and get more to like at least that like round 25 bonus, I think. Whichever the post office box was. And this time getting again to round 20, and can we at least get through round 20? Yes. And we got to round 21. Okay. I think I haven't been collecting, so 1.5x monster cash. I think I should be collecting spices more often. I honestly didn't realize they refilled quite as often as they do. And the thing there is just, I guess some people are collecting them like every couple hours or something. That might be a little too intensive for me, but I'm going to try and do it more often. So 44 apocalypses caused at this point, 264%. I have all of World 1, all of World 2, and all of World 3 except for Blood Bones on this particular character. And then partway into World 4. All right, as you can see there, level 139. Class XP starting to get much better as well. In World 4, I'd never gotten anywhere near these rates previously, so that's been pretty cool. Yeah, 46 apocalypses caused. Doing pretty well here. As you can see, 102k per hour build rate and 1.05k player XP bonus. I'm trying to get the player XP bonus up to have this a little more balanced. I'm going to go through and do another pass on this with a lot of the advice that people have given and mentioned, but I was just kind of trying to just get the bonuses to a more solid position. As you can see, they got up to 1.11k XP bonus. And then, of course, the update came out. I think it was 1.5.1. So, new World 3 mini boss. That's the slush one, I think. Yes, it says it right there. World 4 mini boss. I have not done that one yet. New equipment. Keychain pile. Added to Frog Dungeon. Probably won't use that much just because I have so many keys I already do keychains. Like just from the dungeon runs themselves, especially if I'm doing solo runs. I feel like I've already gotten a lot of keychains. But I will use keychains from, obviously from the party hour. That's obviously one source of keychain fragments. So I guess that's true. Something I do. Vile Epic Gamer moments. Those are pretty funny, but my initial impression was it just seems like you use your rolls more quickly. If somebody knows what the real mechanic behind that is, I'm kind of curious because it seems like you just use your rolls more quickly with the epic vile moments. I'm not sure if there's any actual changes happening there other than it involving me dropping my item less times, which is nice. I don't really want to have to drop it 18 times every day. So I guess this is a little more automated. But what I did notice was you can get, if you have one try left, for example, I could get like 4 rolls off of that one try. But I'm not sure how to take advantage of that if you still have more than one try left. So we got some new vials though. Pet breeding chance. There's a number of good ones in World 4 it seems like, but they all require like 99 rolls to get, so they're pretty dang difficult. And it was taking me a long time to get these, like multiple days to get each one. But when you do get them, they're pretty good bonuses, so they definitely seem to be worth going for. So up to level 145, I know I went through those class levels kind of quick, but this was covering a number of days. And what happened really was the XP rate went way up from some of these zones, and all of a sudden I was getting a lot more class XP than I'd basically ever been getting before. You can see I got cabbage up to level 3. That was really helping out my kitchens, especially the speeds, although they're still pretty low compared to some people. So I've got a lot of work to do. I'm trying to get the meal speed leveled up. You can see here I'm still relying on snakes. I don't know what else I should be doing, but I think I need some more monsters unlocked first. Snakes seem to be the obvious choice out of what I have unlocked. I need to do breedability. and some other stuff. You'll see that in the next video because I do get into some of that before the current day. So this goes up to like April 2nd or so, and then from here until the 8th might be a couple of videos, might be one video, but that should be happening in the next handful of days, hopefully, if not fairly soon. So yeah, it's going to do it for this video. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about this video in the comments and what other types of content I should create. And I will see you guys in the next video.